Alright, I'm Nick and I'm here today with a Grammer MSG75 suspension, and today we're going to be changing out the housing kit. It's the component that's going to have your micro switch and your bleeder valve to air up the suspension and to let the air out of the suspension. It's going to come with a new linkage, this roll pin, a spring, and a couple of new screws. Not a lot in the kit, and some work instructions come in there. We're going to start by letting all the air out of the suspension, as we're going to be unhooking the air bladder, so we don't want to have any surprises when we release the air. We'll take the cushion off. And as we get into this, there's a few things that we're going to have to take off along the way. This here is going to release the micro switch, if you have a micro switch in yours. Some of them don't have a micro switch, but you're going to push down on that tab and then release this and pull the switch out of there. We're going to remove the bellows so we can see what we're doing in there. There's just a few catches along the way. And basically, we're going to open this thing up. There's a few ways to go about it. I found this to be the easiest way. You're going to need a T40 plus. You can remove these screws here. Once we get inside of there, you'll need a T20 actually to get this housing off of there. Switch that out. So what we have is, first thing you see is the linkage here is catching. We can unhook here, just a little pull. We're going to end up replacing that along the way. That's going to get you some visibility in here. So what we're going to have to do to get at this is we're going to have to unhook the bleeder valve, which is the smaller of the hoses, and that's a compression fitting. If you push in on it, it'll release the hose. We're going to have a couple of screws here we're going to be taking out. We're going to pull this pin. It's going to release this trigger, and it's pretty much it to it. We'll pull it right out of there at that point. You can reuse that. The kit comes with a new one, but I don't know why you'd necessarily need it. Yeah, we'll get that out of there at the end, I guess, but the kit comes with some new screws, but again, may or may not need them if you don't lose the originals. We're going to be unhooking the compressor, I guess, here. There's the black wires on the back and the red ones on the front. If you knock these off, it matters which way they're orientated. They do have to sit on there a certain way. So this thing swings out of here. This air hose, I guess, is the last thing catching me. This air hose is clipped into the housing, kind of fighting me from stop me from pulling it out. But once you get that out of there, you'll unhook everything, and then a flathead screwdriver. You should be able to push this fitting in and release your air hose and pull the whole thing out of there. At some point, you do need this trigger back. And this comes with a new spring. You'll see which way it goes in there on the new one, but it does have a little, it's fairly intuitive. It goes back together pretty decent. So we'll plug in our compressor again here, and then our red one on the outside. Clip your air line back in there. Sure you got that negative pin plugged in there all the way. And then this air hose we can plug back in. Well, not to damage, but this air hose clips in here on this housing, so that it doesn't get snagged on anything when your suspension's operating. At that point, we've installed the housing. We got to put the trigger mechanism back in there. As I said, this air hose just might be in the way for this still, but the spring sits in here in a way that it can't really sit the wrong way. The fork goes down, and as we get this thing in there, we'll catch that spring. It kind of straddles over this plastic housing, gives you some spring tension for the handle. We got the pin back in, the trigger works, there's spring tension. That spring just has to straddle over that one catch in the housing there. Air hoses are plugged in and tight. Everything's caught back on here. Clip these up so they don't get snagged. And then it's key again that these are sitting with this facing forward like this. If they fall off for some reason, you won't get them back on unless they're facing the right direction. So this linkage is a little bit tricky to see what I'm doing here, but on the front of this suspension, you have this orange needle. I can move back and forth. It tends to be that if I move this somewhere in the area of about a third of the way in, roughly, it gives you the best opportunity to line up with this pin here. So we got to connect this linkage with that orange needle and then snap it into place. And so I have it caught on the needle And the idea is the flathead screwdriver, you can snap it back into the housing. And then that'll be that. But so, all right, so very difficult to see this when we're installing it in the seat, but what's happening at this linkage is we're putting the tip of this and we're catching it in this groove here on this. And it's going to be a kind of a blind install, and then we're going to snap it into this housing. There's a groove here, so essentially the point in here and click it in here, and a flathead screwdriver will do it. You just got to be a little bit careful not to damage the linkage itself with the flathead screwdriver. So push with the flat, the full flat edge of it. Use a larger screwdriver would be my tip. Let a little air back out of there again. Somehow we picked up air while we had it open, but catch your bellows back on. Micro switch can go back in. And if you have the operator present switch, you'll need to put this bar back in, and then cushion if it's heated. And for more information, you can go to www.usa.grammar.com.